Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome everybody to microprocessor class, and we are still in chapter 2, microprocessor architecture. In the last lecture, we have described the different segments of any program and how they are laid out inside the main memory. Okay, and we have also covered how can I, from an offset address and a segment address, I can create a physical address to access the bytes in the memory. In the last lecture, we have actually started the explanation of why we need two parts of the address, or actually why we have what's called the logical address and the physical address. I start demonstrating this example from the high-level language, okay? And I just wanted to indicate to you that that in assembly language and even in the high-level language, when you give parametric names to the variables, when you define int x, int y, int z like this, okay, these names are just to help you as a programmer, okay, to address the memory locations, okay. And memory locations in the memory itself does not have names. Memory locations in the memory itself does not have names, okay. The memory location has only addresses. Remember that everything in the machine is actually binary. And as the rule of thumb that we mentioned before in the previous lecture, that the memory is accessed by its address. So in the high-level language, when I call or when I give the directive or define the variables, variable x, variable y, variable z, those variables, okay, are actually accessed through their addresses, not through the names. The names are just to make the life of the programmer easier to identify the parameters, like any name, okay? So that means basically and originally, when you define the variables, this is a definition of their address, of their address. First of all, here I draw the data segment. This is an example of the data segment. What is the size of the data segment? As we explained in the last lecture, what's the size of the data segment? Huh? 64 kilobyte. The segment, any of those segments is 64 kilobytes. Okay? So if I want, assume that this is a snapshot for my data segment. Okay? This will be mapped in the memory. So before it's mapped to the memory, if I need this storage to address, and I'm addressing this storage in bytes, as we agreed before, okay? What is the address, okay? What should be the address for one segment? Remember that the segment is 64 kilobyte, صح? Agreed? تمام? طيب, how many bits do I need to access or to address the data segment? اتفقنا عليها دي. How many bytes to address the data segment? How many bits to address the data segment? How many bits to... بالظبط. محمد وميرا, correct? ليه 16? Because 2 to the power 16 will give me 2 to the power 10 multiplied by 2 to the power 6. 2 to the power 10 is 1 kilo, and 2 to the power 6 is 64. 64 multiplied by 1 kilo will give me the 64 kilobytes. So actually, to address any bytes in a segment of 64 kilobytes, I need 16 bits to address it. Those 16 bits representing what? Okay, what are the possible values for those 16 bits? What is the address of the first byte in that segment? What's the address of the first byte? What's the address of the first byte? What is the address of the first byte? In hexa. In hexa. If I want to write this address in hexa, what's the address of the first byte? أيوة كده. 0 0 0 0. So what is the address of the last byte? مظبوط. It is F F F F in hexa. Okay, so the address that we are talking about here, we call this the offset address. What is the offset address? The offset address is the address of the bytes within a segment. An offset address is the address of the byte within the segment. Okay? Agree? So that means actually when I indicate in the high level language, I have integer called x, integer called y, integer called z. The x, y, and z are not, are actually a representation to the address of those bytes. Okay, and this actually will make a little bit of the confusion here. Okay, because actually in the high level language, I can access x, y, and z directly as if they are the content of the data. But in reality, in the segment, I have x, y, and z are a representation for the address of the memory location. Right. Did you get that? Forget about the high level language now. Okay, and let us focus in. Let's focus on the assembly. In assembly, this is the segment, and the segment size is 64 kilobyte, and it has offset address. Offset address means the address within it. Like what? I will give you an example to make the idea a little bit clear here. Okay, I am building some. I'm building maybe the university. Okay, so I have buildings inside the university. معايا يا شباب؟ I start by building the ECE department. The designer for the department is actually the engineer who is designing the department, is a start allocating the offices inside the department. Okay, so maybe I have it one floor and I start defining that this is the maybe office number 00. I have maybe 100 offices in this ECE department. So the numbering or the addresses for these 100 offices will start from 00 till 99 inside within the ECE department. Okay, is this address that I'm talking about here اللي هو الرقم ده اللي هو ارقام الاوفيسز اللي جوه ECE department. Okay, does this represent an absolute location? Can I go to the Amazon and deliver my package to 00, 00 where? 00 here is an address within the ECE department. Okay, so we call this the offset address. An offset address, it's an address within some subset. Okay, now in order to exactly reach to the office, I have first to reach to me to University of Sharjah. So right now, I have to tell the delivery that University of Sharjah at ECE department office number 00, you have to deliver your package. So this is actually an analogy. This actually explains to you. I have two parts for the address. Part representing the address within the ECE department and the part of the address representing the ECE department itself. Okay? When I say University of Sharjah, ECE department and 00, that means I can access, I can go to the location and know where to drop my package. The exact same is happening here in the program. While you are developing your code, at the development phase of your code, when you write your code, do you have any idea about the physical addresses? You have any idea about physical addresses? The actual location in the memory to go? No. While you are developing your code, you will start defining your parameters and your variables اللي هم x y and z, okay, relative to the start of that segment. يعني x will take the first byte of the segment with address 0000. And y will go to the 1000. And z will get to 2000 and so on. So while you are developing your code, you are using or you have access only to the offset address. Okay, the address within the segment. Okay, so this will make your life easier as a programmer. Right now, I will give you a space, a white space, a free space, okay, on your executable file or on your code file. This space is for the data segment, starting with offset 0000 and ending at offset FFFF. Okay, the same thing, by the way, happens to mean to all the other segments in your program. Okay, so the same thing is actually for the second segment in your program. The second segment is the code segment. تمام؟ Okay? الكود segment برضه عبارة عن ايه؟ A group of bytes starting من offset كام؟ Okay, let me refresh. Can you hear me now? Can you see me now? طيب جميل. يبقى also for the code segment and also for the stack segment and also for the extra segment, all of those are segments. Okay, each of those segments has what we call the offset address. what is the first offset address in the code segment? What is the starting offset address in the code segment? Also 0000 in hexa عليكم نون. What is the last offset address in the code segment? Also FFFF. Okay, يبقى each segment start with the offset address 0000 in hexa and end up with the offset address FFFF in hexa. Okay, so now with these kind of abstract addresses, the developer of the program can write his program. Okay, right now I know that I have a free space of a data segment starting at this offset and then at that offset. So right now I can start laying out my parameters, my variables. I will put the first variable x in the first location, 0000. Then the next, then the next. Yes, okay, then the next, then the next, then the next, okay? So inside your program here, you can see only offset addresses. You can see only during your development of the code, you are seeing only offset A addresses, okay? So the programmer right now shall worry about where his data and the code will be in the physical memory while he is developing your code. During development of the code, you don't have to worry at all about where this will be placed in the main memory, okay? You only have information about that. Right now I have a 64 kilobyte, okay, for code starting at offset 0000 and ending at FFFF. And I have also data segment starting with 0000 and end with FFFF. The same thing for the stack 0000 ويخلص عند كام؟ عند FFFF. The same thing for the extra starting at 0000 and end at FFFF. Right now, as a developer of the code, you can write your code, you can recognize and know where each variable is stored relatively. Relatively means relative to the start of each segment. Okay? So you can safely design your code similar to the designer of the university. When he do the ECE department, he is actually start laying out the rooms and identifying Dr. Ali will be in this room, Dr. Ahmed will be here, Dr. Muhammad will be here, and so on. He is laying out everything. He is designing everything on the maquette without knowing where is University of Sharjah. Now you can put this University of Sharjah maybe in Sharjah, or we decided not to put this design in that location, we will put it in another location. Okay, so we can move it. So this is the difference between the phase of designing the code and the phase of execution the code. But during designing the code, you only have knowledge about offset addresses. Okay? In the last lecture, we have explained the execution of the program. If you develop the program and you have the program ready, okay, each of those segments, starting from this address to that address, will be placed somewhere in the main memory. Here, at the execution minute, when you double-click on the program, now the segments start taking physical addresses. طب هياخدوا ازاي physical addresses? The physical address is a combination of two pieces. The piece that you already designed during your code development, which is the offset, okay, and the segment address that is provided to you by the operating system. Tamam? So that's why we need, okay, to deal with the two types of addresses. Okay, during the development of your code, you know nothing about the physical address, you don't know what is the values of the segment registers. The segment registers did not take values yet. Okay, the operating system later on will give the value at the execution phase. While you are developing your code, you want to deal with addresses. You want to know where is X, where is Y, where is Z. Do you put it in the first place of the data segment, or you shift it a little bit? Okay, where to put it? You want to manage your space of the data segment to lay out your data, to define your data. The same thing for the code. You start laying out the code. Each instruction, okay, while you are developing your code, has an offset address. يبقى كل instruction has an offset address. Okay, while you are developing your code, each of your instructions will have a starting point, a starting address, and then the following instruction, then the following instruction, then the following instruction. Those instructions are taking bytes from the code segment, okay, one by one, until the whole, until you can fill up, mean the whole 64 kilobytes of the code segment. And you can define your variables, your parameters for the data segment until you fill up, mean the 64 kilobytes here, okay? While you are developing all of this, you are only dealing with offset addresses, okay? Relative to the starting points of the code segment, and for the data segment, for the extra segment, and for the stack segment, okay? After developing your code, okay, and you build your executable, now the code should be loaded to the main memory for execution. At that moment, the operating system will provide to you pointers to where the segments will be stored in the memory. Right. After that, the microprocessor, how can the microprocessor know the physical address? Because the microprocessor is the one is dealing with the physical address. Right now, at the moment of the execution, the microprocessor is going to fetch the code, execute the instruction. Where to go? He has to go physically in the main memory. So the microprocessor is doing this calculation. Take the segment address, okay, from his register. Take an offset address, combine them together in the method that we explained in the last lecture to generate a physical address. Then the microprocessors truly can put this address on the address bus and access the memory and get the data. Okay? Is this clear? Yes, exactly. Okay? Offset address in different references, they call it the logical address. Okay? Okay? In some references, calling this combination, okay, while they are not calculated, while they are not taking values, as a logical address. Okay? But the more meaningful name for the logical address is the offset. So it is something logical. It's not physical. It is something that is actually representing a relative thing, not absolute, not really a place. Okay? When I'm designing the ECE department, I'm saying that Dr. El-Moursy will be in office number 00 in ECE department. While I'm developing the university, I'm not sure which this university will be placed where. I may be designing a university that I may actually, at the end of the day, build it maybe in Sharjah, maybe build it in Dubai, maybe build it in Fujairah or something. I'm building a university. Where the university will be placed physically, I don't know. Okay? But this will not preventing me from designing the full university, from identifying the location of everybody inside the university, okay, to knowing the relative locations between the different bodies inside the university. And this is actually what we are doing when we develop a software. When you develop a software, you have to know relative locations between things. Okay? That's why I have to give you a scratch paper called the data segment to fill in your data and identifying offset address for each location in the data segment. Same thing I have to do it for the code segment. Same thing I do it for the stack segment, for the Excel segment. Okay? To allow you making the development. After the development, we go to the execution. Is this clear? Is this clear enough? Okay. Clear? If it is not 100% clear, don't worry, because actually we will spend significant amount of time showing how I can design the code and use the offset addresses while I'm designing the code, and also we will see how I can execute the different instructions in chapter number 3. But here we learn the basic concept. We learn, okay, that we have to know that there is something called an offset address, which we use it during the development of the code. The segment address given to my code at the first execution time of the code, and at the execution time, okay, physical address calculated out of the segment address, and offset address should be calculated by the microprocessor to know how to go exactly in the real physical memory. Okay? You have to know very well how to calculate the physical address, what is the segment address, what is the offset address, okay, in this chapter. And we will demonstrate in the next chapter plenty of examples how things is being done. Okay? Agree? Makes sense? Any question? Okay, now we have 3 minutes right now before the quiz. The quiz is on the will be monitored by Respondents Monitor. The quiz will be available to you exactly at 10:30. The quiz is only 10 minutes. Okay, a group of true and false questions. You will answer them. You will not take more than 5 minutes to answer them. It's very easy. It's only in chapter 1. So don't worry. Okay, you have plenty of time to solve the problem. This is just to practice a little bit your knowledge in the quiz. Okay, only 10 questions. Okay, each student will take 10 questions, true and false, in 10 minutes. You will not take more than 5 minutes to solve them. Okay, the quiz will be available exactly at 10:30 after 2 minutes on Blackboard, and you have to activate the Respondents Monitor to access the exam. I will be here available for you if you faced any issue with the exam. Just you can chat with me during the exam. Okay, if something happened to you. Okay, I wish you the best of luck, and I will be online with you for the exam. يعني ايه in all or normal؟ مش فاهم السؤال. محمد بيقول
في مكانين للمايكرو بروسيسور كورس عندنا بالبلاك بورد، واحد مكتوب جنبه all وواحد مكتوب section.
الاول اللي انت بتخش على السيشن بتاعته هنا.
اوكي تمام.
الاول. اوكي. Good luck يا شباب. Thank you.